both of you talking a little bit about what you're working on right now, and then we'll move to a quick Q&A. You want to sit? Okay. Sure. Yeah, if you want to just talk quickly about what each of you is working on right now.
I'm working on 2 new films, actually a couple of films, but the 2 films that I'm really focusing on right now are a documentary called Unwanted, which I'm producing with a filmmaker called Rama Rau. And I'm also working on Unwanted is a film about female feticide and what it means to have a world without women. A world without women, yes. The other film that I'm currently developing is a film I'm working with a filmmaker called Rama Rau, called the League of Exotic Dancers, which is a film about aging burlesque performers. Our women are between the ages of 70 and 90. So it's a little bit of burlesque history and the sort of trials and tribulations that they faced. I'm also trying to develop a series called Women in Warfare with an Israeli co-producer, which is about the role of women in the military. And that's what I'm focusing on right now.
So my bio is a little bit out of date. Herman's House is done, but one of the things I'm working on right now is getting it out in the US market. It's going to, we just announced today, a theatrical run in New York of 1 week, which is exciting. So that, we're doing a community outreach campaign also exclusively in the United States this spring, and then we have other exciting things coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. So getting a film out into the world these days is as much producing work, I feel, as getting it made. Inside Herman's House is the related interactive documentary with the National Film Board, which is currently in the middle of production. We're quite excited about it as well. And then finally, of course, Shadow Girl, which is the story of a Chilean-Canadian filmmaker who's going blind, which we pitched last year and we're mostly completed financing for now. Just moving through those financing and production stages.
Okay.
I just wanted to note that I was in that program, the OMDC mentorship program in 2008, where I did my very first pitch ever.
Yeah, so both of you, if you can jump in, what are the do's and don'ts? How do you prepare for a festival like Hot Dogs? What do you take? What do you tell yourself? Everything. We want to know everything you do to prepare yourself for a big festival.
Well, we get a big bottle of booze to calm our nerves. No, really what we do is we always, the first thing to do is to sort of see who is attending the festival if you're pitching a film, and then find out what they have produced in the last year. So you do your homework. And then you sort of try to figure out in your head how can you pitch these people, are they appropriate for your project. In terms of the actual market, we always have a number of things that we prepare. We usually have a one sheet that sort of gives a brief description of what the project is about. We often also have a longer proposal. And whenever possible, we try to have some visual material as well in the form of a trailer. Less and less so do I actually bring physical material to the market, because I'm finding that a lot of people that you meet, just imagine you're a commissioning editor from the UK and you're approached by like 200 filmmakers over the course of a couple of days. So that's a lot of DVDs and paper that you're bringing home. So I always have a bunch of things on hand, but I don't necessarily hand them out. We tend to make sure that we have people's emails and a video link or a YouTube link that we can send them for follow-up. And of course we have PDF of all our written material as well that we can send. It's really important that you see what they have worked on in the past couple of years, because there's no point pitching an arts film to somebody, to social political documentaries all the time. And you look like a fool if you actually approach somebody. That happened to me many, many years ago. My very first experience in the market was in Amsterdam. I'm Dutch originally. And I was there in 2000 pitching one of our films. I think it may have been SHIPBREAKERS or Aftermath, I'm not sure. And I had done a little bit of homework, and then I knew that these were the people that you really wanted to talk to. So I went to a French broadcaster and was already sort of pitching my sort of big idea. And he was actually taller than me. I'm 6'2". He was like 6'5" or something like that. He looked down at me from his nose and he said, "You obviously don't know what we do." And I felt about this big. I shrank, and it sort of stayed with me throughout the whole festival. I was devastated by that. So for me, that was a great object lesson. It's never happened again. But usually now when I meet them, well, not usually, always when I meet with people now, I know what they're doing and what they're looking for, and it's very important. Lisa, you want to add?
So, yeah, in terms of physical things to prepare, I just bring business cards. I literally, and maybe a couple of DVDs. But I think the prep is really more, like Ed was saying, the research ahead of time. But it also depends on how you're participating. So the majority of markets, aside from the markets I've attended, except for hot dogs, I've only gone because I'm pitching or participating in meeting programs. And there's a high level of preparation that I go through. And Elizabeth has witnessed this. I comb the lists. I email like mad. I exhaust every last opportunity, and probably myself in the process. And I try to set up meetings ahead of time. And if I'm pitching, we're practicing our pitch. We start a month ahead of time. I'm prepping my director. I'm working with them closely so that we present well at the pitch table. That's my main experience of attending market events. Prior to our 2010 pitch of HERMAN'S HOUSE, the only markets I'd been to was hot dogs, and I was just observing. I observed everybody. I observed especially the behavior on a personal level of all of the commissioning editors sitting around the table, how they interact, etc. So by the time I was selected to pitch in 2010, I think I'd watched 3 forums already at hot dogs, and I understood the theatrical choreography, because you are performing and there's a fine-tuned choreography to that thing, and there's the ways it can work and the ways it can become a disaster. So my prep was always aimed at making sure we present well, making sure I know who we're talking to, making sure I know who's going to be there. And once I'm there, I just chase everyone like a mad dog.
Yeah, I've seen politely chase people. She simply won't recognize, people. If you're not a funder, don't even talk to her.
I just want to add to what Lisa said, is that she contacts people ahead of time. I do the same thing. But just because you send somebody an email doesn't mean you're going to get a response. I've been in this business for like a long time, and often I don't get a response. So either you do a follow-up email, or you try to get a telephone number and see if you can get these people on the phone. And if you don't get them, try to get their assistant to make contact. But just because you send an email is not a guarantee that you're going to be looking at your email. I know I get a couple hundred emails a day, and I zap a lot of them sometimes because I don't have the time. Commissioning editors get literally overwhelmed. Elizabeth mentioned that there are 2,000 delegates that come to hot dogs, and all these people probably send emails to each other, so that's a lot of stuff to look at.
So suppose you've sent the emails, you've got a few meetings, but you're at the forum, you're still somewhere starting the business, or you may have made a couple of